year was 2009. I was footloose and fancy-free. Recently divorced, just shy of 40. I know that's really hard for you guys to comprehend. Still a newbie to San Diego. I just moved here a couple of years before from Connecticut. I lived in a small apartment in Little Italy and was having the time of my life. I made friends with all the restaurant owners on India. I'd hang out with the guys playing cards under the red umbrellas on India Street. I had coffee while sitting in all the piazzas. I people watched. I immersed myself into the local music scene, becoming a total local music groupie, going to all sorts of shows. That was thanks to my mom. She was a lover of music and a lover of dancing. I'd haul my beach bike down 2 flights of stairs and put it on my car and go to the beach and cruise up and down the boardwalk, belting out songs because I was so damn happy to be here in San Diego. For work, I was telling the stories of the people of San Diego on television. Weekend mornings were my shift, so the alarm went off at 4 a.m. Yeah. And I will only admit to you guys, my new, now close personal friends, that there may have been a time or two when my head didn't hit the pillow till after midnight. Happens. I had really interesting conversations. I met amazing people. I ate amazing food. I drank a lot of wine. I may have kissed a few boys. That also just happens. I was figuring out who I was again as a single woman. What made me happy? It was all about me. The one constant throughout this entire time was my relationship with my mom. She was back east, and it was pretty hard for us to be apart because we were best friends, and we really dug each other's company, and clearly we're occasionally twinsies. Yeah. Same bangs, same highlights, you know, it's all good. She was my biggest supporter in almost everything I did, including the first week that I was ever on television in my career. She said she cried the whole week and said, "My baby." So being more than 3,000 miles away was obviously really challenging and hard. But we still talked once, maybe twice a day on the phone to catch up. I didn't really notice some of the things that I probably should have noticed as I look back. I did notice that she was a bit marbly-mouthed, so I had to say huh and what a lot. I did notice that she wasn't quite understanding or comprehending things I was saying and stories I was telling, which was odd because we were really good at communicating. What I didn't know was that the woman who was balancing her checkbook to the penny for years was now making major math mistakes and missing bills. What I didn't know was the woman who walked around and made sure that all the doors were locked was leaving her garage door wide open all night long. My aunt told me later that at a family meal, my mom was asked to put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in a dish on the stove, and she poured in a 1/4 cup of salt. She stopped drinking coffee because the coffee maker was broken. I found out later that there were too many steps to make a pot of coffee, and she was getting confused, so it would come out all water, or wouldn't come out because she forgot to put the carafe in the slot. She was losing her balance, she was falling a lot. And because of all this, we'd have these secret family conference calls where the aunts and the uncles and my brother and me and my grandfather, who was my mom's dad, were all on the phone talking about what happened, what to do, when was the next doctor's appointment, what was happening. It was so hard to be far away from all this. Then one day, the diagnosis came, early dementia. Lewy body dementia, it was called, which has some of the Alzheimer's symptoms, but also some Parkinsonian tremors and some hallucinations. In fact, one time she insisted that my brother and I were in the living room watching television with her, and neither of us were in the same state. So here she is, 61, can't live at home, can't live alone, can't drive. A decision clearly had to be made. My family, we were very tight, we were all gonna be there, but who was gonna step up and be the primary caregiver? Well, I sent a message out to 8 of my closest friends, and I asked them to come over. I said it's something very important to talk to them about. They all came over immediately the next night. I shared what was going on with my mom and told them that I was thinking about moving back home. They talked it through with me, and I knew in my heart, and they probably did too, not too far into the conversation, the decision had already been made. I was going back. In fact, by the end of the night, I was giving away my news jackets and my San Diego clothes. I loved my mother with all my heart. We were best friends. I decided that we would maneuver this malicious, mysterious, mind-robbing disease together. As my mother ushered me into and through my life, I was going to usher her to the end of hers with grace and dignity, exactly as she lived. I was scared shitless. It took me a few weeks to wrap up my West Coast life, and at this point my mother knew something was wrong with her. So I remember having a very, very painful phone conversation with her. I was lying on my bed and she said, "Chris, I'm a good person, right?" I said, "Oh my God, Mom, of course, you're the best person I know, yes. What are you talking about?" She said, "Then why did someone pour acid in my ears?" "I'll be there as soon as I can, Mom. As soon as I can." So I packed up my 14 boxes, grabbed my cat, grabbed my beloved beach bike, and headed back east to be with her on her journey. We were gonna learn how to handle this together, just as we did so many other things. Only this time, my brother and I were gonna take care of Mom. So I moved in with her into my old bedroom and rode the roller coaster of emotions known as dementia. I learned to add time to prepare for every outing because she yelled at me when I rushed her, even though I wasn't rushing her. When I put her to bed, I read as much as I possibly could about Lewy body, about Alzheimer's, and how to communicate and what to expect and what was next, until a car backfired outside of the house and she woke up and said, "Are we being attacked?" I learned never to argue with someone with dementia and to go into their reality because they no longer have the capability of coming into ours. There were tantrums, hurt feelings, outbursts, tears on both sides. I had to learn to be okay with not telling her the truth about everything, because frankly, too much information would really throw her into a tizzy. I felt like I was lying to my mother by omitting things, and I wasn't really doing very well at that. And plus, I've only been focusing on one thing of late, which was my own personal happiness. I wasn't actually sure I could do this whole take care of someone else thing. She was supposed to take care of me. She's Mom. It's my job. Her job was to take care of me. I didn't want to watch her slowly go away. I didn't want to move her out of her home of 20 years so we could move her into an assisted living because there was this constant fear that she was going to fall down the stairs. We had this garage sale. I remember the day. It was raining, so everything was in the garage. And we had to sell that beautiful crystal ice bucket that she used to entertain. And we had to sell the Christmas village that she used to set up so perfectly every year. Some stranger came up to me with both of them in a box and goes, $10? And I just looked and turned around and walked away. I couldn't do that. I couldn't handle it. We had to sell all Mom's stuff. She couldn't take it with her. I became an advocate for my mother's health and well-being. I made sure all her medications were right. I made sure she was taking them. And I actually carried around these brochures about Lewy body dementia so that just in case she had a fall and had to go to the ER, I'd be first to hand it to these doctors and nurses who knew nothing about this disease at all. We had lunches together. We watched Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, her two favorite shows. I did what I could to raise awareness. I went back on television in Connecticut, and I would do stories about the plight of the young caregiver, for example. And I interviewed this 26-year-old girl who was crying to me, telling me that she was so sad because her mom with Alzheimer's would never know the child that she has yet to have. I interviewed a woman who had to take the keys away from her husband because it was no longer safe for him to drive. And he said to me and my cameraman, "Now we're never going to get anywhere because she always gets lost." And he smiled, and she smiled, and a tear fell down her face. Because sometimes you laugh with this disease, sometimes you cry, and sometimes you do both. I emceed Alzheimer's walks, and I did fundraisers. I went to the drugstore with Mom and patiently waited as she walked up and down every single aisle. A very good shopper, that one. That's where I got those jeans, the shopping jeans. She'd buy these huge containers of moisturizer every single week. And I let her because it made her happy. And it didn't hurt anyone. And I tried to tell the cashier with my eyes to just be patient and wait while Mom tried to count the money because she wasn't going to get it right. And then I braced myself for the exasperated sighs from all the people online behind us while she took all that time to do those things. I just wanted to protect her, and I wanted it to be over, and I just wanted things to be the same. And then she had a heart attack, and she was in the ICU for days. And when she came to, she had lost so much ability that we moved her as a family decision into a nursing home, into a locked dementia unit. And soon I had to help her feed her and help her go to the bathroom and dress her and bathe her because she couldn't do any of that anymore. Dementia was completely taking my mother away from me. The nurses and the aides and the social workers, the cleaning woman who took Mom's little bear statue home to glue it back together after it fell off and broke, the art therapist who was so touched by my mom that she made her a vase because Mom couldn't do it herself. They all became her extended family, and they actually became mine as well. The nurses said that they knew that I was visiting because I would leave mascara stains on the pillow as I was holding Mom from behind and trying to cry quietly. My heart opened and it swelled and it grew as it was breaking. I changed. These were my lessons. 4 years after her diagnosis, Mom passed away. I was holding her hand at the time, and it was completely heartbreaking. Yet there was this odd sense of relief, which I found out later on is not actually odd at all, because there was no more wheelchair. There was no more inability to do anything. She was free, and she was whole, and she was dancing. So what I think about now is that I really wish that I had taken more pictures of her before she got sick. I didn't do that. I was too worried about myself. I was too selfish. I really wish that I had taken more photos, because now, 5 years later, I don't have any more photos. There are no more new photos. The whole experience did teach me a lot of things, including the importance of kindness. I try to help people in the grocery store if they can't reach something, because clearly I'm pretty tall. So if you need the cereal, I'll get it for you. You're tall too, you don't need it. I hold the door open so you can go first. I'm trying to be somebody she'd be proud of. I try to look people in the eye and smile and thank them often, because that's what you do with people with dementia. I try to wait for answers when I ask questions. I learned that also from talking with people with the disease. I often let people cut in front of me in traffic and try to be okay if they don't wave, because nobody ever waves. And I realized that as my mother started to forget who she was, I found out who I was supposed to be. Her disease gave me purpose and passion. And now I share my wins and my misses in caregiving with dementia with others, because it's very possible that one mistake that I made may make someone else's journey just a little bit easier. I speak to caregivers. I talk about what I learned. I listen and help guide people on their journeys. You may wonder, am I worried I'm going to get it? Absolutely. I'm already at risk because it's in my bloodline. But you know what? I try to live every day now. Another lesson that I learned. I try to revel in the joyful moments. I literally bend down to smell the plumeria when I walk by. I moved back to San Diego after she died because I love it here. This is my home. I'll leave you with this story. There is this hallway in my mom's nursing home. It had these beautiful stained glass windows, and when the sun streamed through, it would leave these watercolor puddles on the ground. And I would take her towards the end of her journey on the wheelchair, and I would kind of wheel through the puddles. And I'd sing, and she couldn't say anything, huh? And so one particular day that I was wheeling her through, I wasn't getting any sort of response. She wasn't making eye contact. She wasn't raising her hands or anything. So I learned as a caregiver that if you're having a bad visit or a visit that makes you feel really bad or sad, you can cut it short. It's okay. It's like self-preservation. So I remember the one day we cruised through one trip through the puddles, and I brought her back up to her floor, and I was delivering her to some folks. And I said, okay, Mom, I'll see you later. And you don't say, I'll see you in 3 days, or I'll see you in a week. You say, I'll see you later, because they don't do very well with time. I said, okay, Mom, I'll see you later. And as I bent down to kiss her, she went like this and pursed her lips to kiss me back. She was in there the whole time. They're in there the entire time. You just have to keep giving them love. Even if they don't know your name, even if dementia's taking them away from you, they can feel your essence and know that you care about them and you love them. My mom is here. I feel her all the time. She's with me always.